become Ontario's premier, and as such, she has passed sweeping province-wide legislation to regulate values in our children's classrooms, specifically on the topic of sexual morality and education. Now, is this policy just an innocuous science-based update about the dangers of sexting and STDs? Yeah, unlikely, since on page 197 of the curriculum, it tells 12-year-olds one of the best things you can do to stop HIV is to stop the stigma that's associated with having the infection. Now, that's not really scientific, is it? The policy is a predator's Pandora's box for young, malleable minds on the topic of sexual morality. Here are just some of the highlights. So in grade 1, Ontario 6-year-olds, who no longer have spelling tests, by the way, are taught words for body parts like penis, testicles, vagina, and vulva. At that same age, at 6, students in Ontario are also introduced to the topic of consent. Fast forward to grade 3, where kids at the ripe old age of 8, where students are taught about so-called gender identity theory. Now, that's to be reinforced right up until grade 8, where 12-year-old children are expected to, quote, demonstrate an understanding of gender identity, male, female, two-spirited, which, by the way, is a race-based sexual orientation that I'm pretty sure is only reserved for Native Indians, transgender, transsexual, intersex, gender expression, and sexual orientation. Meantime, kids in the year below, well, they're taught to be precautious around, quote, anal fluid, as indicated on page 197 of the pamphlet. You see, the architect of this dirty little document in its original format is indeed a convicted child pornographer. This pedo, Benjamin Levin. Once a bigwig in Ontario's Ministry of Education, Professor Benjamin Levin became the center of a child porn investigation, which saw him plead guilty to creating and possessing child pornography and, oh yeah, counseling others to commit sexual assault. Caught by undercover officers online, the former member of Kathleen Wynne's super tight-knit transition team was a frequent visitor to an incest chat room where he counseled single moms on how to sexually assault their daughters for his pleasure and allegedly theirs, on a site where his profile listed his sexuality as, quote, nothing is taboo. In one disgusting sampling read aloud in court, every date of which, by the way, I attended, the depraved Levin told one so-called mom he'd like to F all 3 children in front of you with your help. Would they submit, or would I need to tie them? And, well, because this is Canada, this predator has been granted early parole and is actually back at home. But let's focus on the curriculum. So this pervert, who is literally teaching people how to groom their children into committing sexual acts online, also has his fingerprints all over this Ontario curriculum that is currently being employed in classrooms across the entire damn province. And here's where things get even more twisted. Kathleen Wynne and her band of deviants, their perverted control and social experiments, they don't even end at your kids' classrooms. Now, she's entered Ontario homes with enforcement. Recently passed Bill 89 codifies the Ontario government's belief that Ontario's children, the ones whose minds they are literally poisoning all day long, actually belong to the state, not their parents. In short, this totalitarian bill affords the state powers to, wait for it, seize Ontario's children from their homes for the sake of gender ideology. The bill provides a really lengthy list of the sort of children who are, quote, in need of protection, i.e. where Children Protection Services ought to intervene. Now, among that long list is a description of a child who is at risk of suffering mental or emotional health, one whose parents do not provide treatment or access to treatment and is thus defined as a child in need of protection. So Ontario's parents don't have a say in their kids' classrooms or their homes. So if Tommy goes back to school and tells the teacher that you're failing to provide treatment or access to treatment that your child now demands, guess what? You, according to Kathleen Wynne's Bill 89, are working against Tommy's interests, which now include gender identity and gender pronouns, as outlined in Section 1. So, according to Section 34, Parts 1A, Well, the Children's Aid Society must now investigate you, and should CAS workers, who, by the way, are not police officers or doctors, simply just follow the law in Bill 89 and find that, yes, you are unwilling to use Tommy's new pronouns, or goodness forbid, put Tommy on hormone blockers, then according to Bill 89, a court is to issue orders with respect to care for your child, which can include, but is not limited to, placement in the care and custody of another person for anywhere between 3 months to a year. So here we are, Ontario, broke, unemployed, without a reasonable prospect of ever owning our own homes, taking orders from Orville fucking Redenbacher's lesbian twin, who gets her orders from a child fucking pornographer, all of whom now have the legal authority to teach our children their diabolical values. And if we dare to teach them otherwise, we might never see our offspring again.